I want to begin by telling you a story. It was the city of Troas on the coast, and it was a Sunday. It wasn't the Sabbath, because remember that the early church was still Jewish. So they celebrated their Sabbath on Friday to Saturday night. So Sunday, everybody was working still. So people had been working all day, and it had been a hot day. But the great thing about it is that there was somebody coming to town that had never been there before, and everybody wanted to hear, and his name was Paul. So they had secured this place that they were going to have him speak, and it was on the third floor of a building, and it was hot that day, so the heat in the building was probably more than it should be. And Paul had a lot he wanted to tell those people, because this was the first time he had been there, and he doubted very much if he was ever going to be able to make his way back. So he starts talking to them, and as he's talking, he starts to think of even more things to talk about, and more things to talk about. Now, you got to understand that as a pastor, and we understand that the attention span of those listening to us lasts about as long as the comfortable seat that they're sitting in. So as the backside begins to hurt, the attention starts to go away. And it's hard for people to pay attention. But Paul has so much to say, he just goes on and on. But everybody's listening, except for this one man. His name was Eutychus. And Eutychus was sitting in the window. And we don't know if it was the fact that Paul was, I almost fell, the fact that Paul was speaking and going on and on, or it was the fact that the lamps were burning and it was hot. But Eutychus begins to drift off. And he's sitting in the third floor window. And as he begins to drift off, he goes backwards and falls 3 stories. Now I want you to imagine, this is why we don't have a balcony. This is why we don't have 3-story windows in the church, because I don't want anybody sitting in the window and as I'm speaking for them to fall asleep and fall out. People are screaming, he fell! And they all stop. Paul stops what he's saying. They run downstairs and he says, don't worry. And he lays himself upon him. He lays his body upon Eutychus, and Eutychus wakes up. He had died. And Paul brings him back to life. Now, you got to feel sorry for Eutychus for a couple reasons. First of all, he fell asleep during the speaking of Paul. This would be like going to a Billy Graham convention and falling asleep in the front row. It shouldn't happen. But he did. He fell asleep. You also got to feel bad for him because, Luke was there to record it. What would happen today if somebody fell out of a 3rd-story window? What do you think would happen? Everybody would get their cell phones out and they'd take pictures, wouldn't they? And then it would be on Facebook immediately. And then everybody would laugh at Eutychus because I saw you. You've gone viral, man. You've gone viral. Everybody knows about you. The fact that you're that kid who fell out of the window. They would not even think about the fact that he came back to life and that Paul raised him and what Paul was speaking about. They'd be talking about the fact that he fell out of the window and died. So you got to feel bad for Eutychus, and I do a little bit. But see, the scary thing about it is that today I think there are people who probably don't necessarily look at the Word and hear the Word the way they should. Now, I think if Eutychus had been paying attention and not drifting off, I think I doubt if he would fall out of the window. We have to make sure that we're listening to the Word, that we know, hear it, take it to heart, and learn from it.